Hey Eric, how you doing tonight?
Hey, John. I'm very excited on World Bee Day to be chatting with you.
Thank you for shaming me. The fact that I did not actually know it was World Bee Day. Appreciate that call out. Yeah,
Only love, John.
yeah. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know, but I'm super duper excited because it is just about not raspberry, just about Blackberry time in Oregon. I
Mm-hmm.
was out. Posted. I guess I pasted it into the Twitter client. So I pasted a pic on Twitter today.
You pasted and posted a pic.
I pasted and posted a pic that of the blackberry buds just about to bloom. And in Oregon, the blackberry is the main spring or early summer nectar flow. There are, I don't know if you've noticed, there's a lot of blackberries around this place.
Yeah, I try to kill them.
They tend to be a nuisance. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
near my yard. So I either need to get bees or get rid of blackberries.
Those are not mutually exclusive. Let me tell you. I mowed a lot of blackberries this weekend. I'm excited about the blackberries, but I'm also like, it reminds me of the definition of a weed is any plant that's not growing where you want it. So yeah,
Those are blackberries.
yeah, I've got this kind of area right near where my hives are. There's a little hill, and the blackberries have totally taken over the hill, which I don't really care about because good. I don't really need the hill. It's not like I could mow it or what else am I going to do with it? But the blackberries like to take over. So I mow where I can with the tractor mower, the big mower, basically just kind of keeping them pushed back. And then they can keep attempting to encroach. And then every year, once or twice a year, I go and I'm like, nah. I own a dead dinosaur powered thing. We're good. Although they will win in the end because they will outlive me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Although I don't remember, did you come over to our place last year and pick blackberries?
I don't think we did. I remember getting grapes and pickles.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember getting blackberries.
So I actually have. This is maybe a little bit bizarre, but I have two types of blackberries on my place. Actually, three technically, I guess. But two of them are cultivated, and one of them is wild. So the Himalayan blackberries are the wild ones around here, and they have nasty thorns, and they grow everywhere. They're a weed. They're a pain in the hiney. But they also are delicious. They're very sweet berries, but the berries are a little bit smaller though, and picking a lot of them can be a pain, depending on how hard it is to get access to them. I know that one of our friends, friend down from work, a couple of years ago, I went over to his place, and his trick was he kind of had a hill similar to mine, and he would lay a ladder just ladder down on top of the blackberries. And then you'd kind of climb the ladder, wear boots and thick jeans. And then you could kind of get up enough to like pick more blackberries, which is an interesting thing. I might have to do that at some point. But, so anyway, I've got those blackberries out there, which you're welcome to come out and pick as many as you would like, and you will make yourself sick. But
I may have to do that. We like blackberries.
Blackberries are awesome. But then the other thing I have is, when we bought this place, the people before us had a cut flower business, and one of the things that they put in bouquets, evidently, are like green blackberries, which seemed a little weird to me. But her specialty was on kind of woody, shrubby plants. What do you call sorry, I have no idea what you call this stuff, but basically the frillery that goes around the actual flowers, but that provide interest and kind of backdrop to the actual flowers in whatever the vase is. And so she grew these thornless blackberries, and would take clippings of them. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know what the market is for thornless Blackberry ambiance, vase ambiance. I don't know what you call that stuff. But
frillery.
I'm sure
I like frillery.
Did I say frillery?
Yes.
I kind of like the vase ambiance. Anyway, anyway, so, but basically she didn't want them or care about them once they got ripe, because you don't actually want to put like ripe berries in there, because then they'll attract flies. I don't know, whatever. So it worked. It was a great kind of partnership in the way for a while, because she would cut them while they were not ripe, but couldn't cut them all. And then once they got ripe, she was like, well, just take whatever you want and we don't care. And so we would pick the blackberries, which is great. And that's so easy pickings because they're in a row and there's no thorns. So I took, when they moved out, they took a bunch of the plants with them, but anything they didn't want, they let us kind of keep. And I transplanted a whole bunch of them into a row. And so now I've got a nice big row of thornless blackberries that are, they are really big berries. They might be a kind of Marionberry. I don't know, because they're bigger than like the normal Himalayan blackberries around here. And they're not quite as sweet, but like volume per effort, they are tremendous. Because you can fill a bucket in like 2 minutes flat, which is cool. Anyway,
are those the ones that are ripe, or are you just letting me come out and pick out the thorny ones? Berries?
I think both is what I think. So we'll see. Right. We'll see. The thornless ones have been blooming actually for a while. So, and there are scads of blooms on there. In fact, maybe this weekend or tomorrow, I'll try and go out there and take a picture and post it on Twitter, because there are a bazillion blooms out there. And
nice.
Yeah. I mean, I need to weed around the rows, and there's a bazillion. There's tons of work for me to do that I am not doing. So it's not super pretty, but I'm not after pretty. I'm after blackberries. So anyway, I don't know how you got me going on blackberries. World Bee Day. Sorry.
World Bee Day. You're easily distracted.
I am easily distracted. All right. Well, what happened this weekend? Anything fun?
Before we started recording, I was thinking that I remember doing something this weekend and thinking, ooh, I should talk about that on the podcast. And now I can't remember what it was. Which I don't know. What did we do this weekend? And what days were the weekend?
It was 4 days ago.
I don't even know. No, my boy and I, it was a beautiful weekend. I do know that it was a beautiful weekend out here in Oregon. The sun was out. It was warm. My boy and I have decided to start going on bike rides. You know, I take walks. I go out on walks, but we go on bike rides. We did a 7-mile bike ride, pretty much down to the mall and back kind of thing.
Cool.
You know, through neighborhood streets this past weekend. So I know we did that, but that's not the thing I was thinking of. So,
You know, I had one other thing that happened this weekend that made me just like curse my fate or something, because I know I've complained that I have to go to Lowe's a lot, and I swear it's not my fault. I swear it's not my fault all the time. But I had another project that I was like just trying to knock out. And so I'm serious.
Sorry. I should not
laughing
laugh.
At me. And it's true. It's true. I literally was like, well, I'm going to have to tell Eric about this one. So at this, like 2 weekends ago, we were at Lowe's, and I don't remember for what, but I was trying to double up so I didn't have to like make multiple trips. And one of the items that has been kind of, in the middle of my project list is replacing a faucet in our utility room because it leaks. And so we haven't really been using it because we didn't want to destroy our house because it leaks. And so for months we haven't really been using it, or when we did, we'll use a towel and just kind of wipe it up because, the faucet leaks. And so like a couple of weeks ago, when we were there for something else, my wife and I were like, well, well, actually, before we went, it had been on my list of let me get a faucet so that I can replace that. And so I had measured, what kind of sink do I have, what faucet's there, and so I knew what I needed, and so we picked it up. Whatever. So I picked it up a couple weeks ago, and it's been sitting on there waiting for me to have like a couple hours to do it. And so I took the old faucet off and put the new one on, and it was one of those things where the new faucet has the built-in hoses. Have you ever replaced a faucet?
I have replaced, multiple faucets.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're not hard, right? They're pretty much you got a hot line and you got a cold line, and underneath the sink there's going to be a hot line and a cold line, and then just kind of make sure it's set. But depending on the faucet, sometimes the lines are separate, and sometimes, like in this case, the lines just come out of the middle of the faucet, and you don't have to worry about the part that is up inside the faucet. So I get it. I get the old one out. I put the new one in. I get it all cinched down to the sink, and then I stick my head underneath to go like hook stuff up. And I hook up the cold, no big deal. And then I go to hook up the hot, and it does not reach. and I looked there, and I'm like, but there it's so I mean clearly the sink is not like centered above the hot and cold. and so I'm like, what can I do? And there is zero you can do to make a hose go farther without having another length of hose. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, I gotta go back to Home Depot. Actually, it was Lowe's. I'm like, I gotta go back to Lowe's. and what are you gonna do?
If it makes you feel any better, I think I probably have 3 different lengths of faucet connector hoses laying around in my garage because I got the wrong size at some point and had to go back myself to get a longer one.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I have extras in case you need any more short hoses.
Gee, thanks. It's ironic. All the stuff I have around, I don't think I have any of those like lengths. And yeah, if I needed a VGA cable, I'm sure I've got like 10,000 of them. Not that I use VGA anymore these days.
Or haven't for 10 years.
Yeah. RCA, I'm sure I got plenty of them still in the Anyway, right. So whatever. That was another funny thing that happened to me this weekend, and I totally thought I got to tell Eric about that one. That's bad. Okay. I put 3 things in follow-up. So I don't know if you had any other stuff yourself, but the first is a right to repair. So this is something that we've talked about at least twice before, but mostly in the context of farmers and being able to repair their tractors. But I noticed a thread by Cory Doctorow, who is an author and something at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, and fellow. I don't know. Anyway, but he had a thread about the right to repair medical devices, and because I'd kind of heard not blowback, but a little bit of stuff on the side about people doing build your own ventilators and how to have one ventilator serve multiple people, kind of at the beginning of the crisis when we were really trying to figure out what the heck were we going to need. But I didn't realize that iFixit had built a whole site around medical device manuals, and that, a lot of medical devices aren't like the whole right to repair is valid in that domain as well. But in that domain, a lot of I like the way he kind of closed the thread, which is very morbid, but it's kind of predictably the med tech lobbyists are warning that the fact that hospitals are repairing their own medical devices in some cases, that this will put people in danger. I suppose their answer is that if an authorized technician isn't available, we should ensure patient safety by letting them die. Yeah. Sorry.
Ouch.
Pretty brutal. brutal. But anyway, we'll post the link to the thread and maybe to the iFixit medical device repository, or manual repository, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, that is interesting about allowing people to repair, medical devices. And they would launch me in a whole rant about the American medical industry, and insurance, but I should just stop.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we have the government authorizing, approving devices for medical use, because in theory, they've gone through rigorous testing and etc. And so I get the point that if someone's going to repair them, what if they repair it wrong and no one knows and it does something bad? But on the flip side,
mm-hmm.
How about building them in such a way that you can't repair it wrong? I don't know.
Yeah.
You probably just
or at least not building them in such a way that it is impossible to repair without artificial limitations. That's the thing that kind of drives me crazy about the whole John Deere thing.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So my second thing that I put in here, which I thought was mostly just because it was funny, was how to decode a data breach notice. So this is a post by Zach Whitaker at TechCrunch. Did you see this one?
No, but I mean, yes, I did. I read through it as funny.
There have been many. I've seen these sorts of things before, but it's basically let me translate the corporate speak for you. We take security and privacy seriously. Should read. We clearly don't. Or we recently discovered a security incident. Should read as someone else found it, but we're trying to do damage control. What does we took immediate steps? We sprung into action as soon as we found out. Or our forensic investigation shows we asked somebody we asked somebody to tell us how effed we are, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on. A sophisticated cyber attack should read as we're trying not to look as stupid as we actually are. I don't know. I don't like to throw too much shade on that, but there's a lot of truth in things like this.
But on the flip side, what are they supposed to say? Because these companies are going to be hounded by politicians. And so they're saying stuff that politicians understand, right? So
I would say they're meeting the letter of the law and not the spirit of the law.
Sure. It would be nice to hear and I think we've seen a couple breaches where they've just come out and said, look, we screwed up. We know we screwed up. We're figuring out what we did wrong, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, no, I've definitely
those are nice.
I've definitely read a few of those, but they are for sure the minority, and the great minority.
Yeah,
and then my third thing, I really didn't want to talk about this really, but Facebook acquired Giphy. Did you see that?
Giphy.
Giphy. Yes, Facebook did acquire Giphy.
I wonder what they're going to do with Giphy.
Well, they're not going to trace Signal users' use of GIFs or GIFs.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is one of those things where I know you don't. You're not a big Facebook user, and
you didn't even have to qualify that in any way. You just go with "you're not a Facebook user,"
says the guy who has an Instagram account. So I'm the other way around. I have a Facebook account, although I don't really use it, and then but I do not.
Touche.
So, yeah, and I have to look at Facebook Marketplace things that I'm supposed to go buy. Anyway, the article that I wanted to link here wasn't actually to the Facebook Giphy acquisition. It's a GIF. I'm sorry, dude. I'm a peanut butter guy. But the article that I saw was about Signal, which is the privacy messaging app that they have support for GIFs, and but they don't hit Giphy directly. They go through a privacy preserving proxy, specifically so that you're not giving Facebook your info, basically.
Got it.
And they're like, well, it doesn't really matter to us. We're still, quote unquote, protecting.
Right.
So,
you can still use your fancy GIFs.
You can have a hard time saying GIF, and I'll have a hard time saying GIF. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. All right.
So anyway, that was my third thing. So check out the Signal post about how they managed to protect you,
preserve privacy while using something like that. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So my article this week was from Krebs. Haven't talked about Krebs for a while. Haven't had any articles from him for a while.
It's been a while.
But he has an article that he got access to an alert or a memo that the Secret Service is circulating into all their field offices, talking about a massive amount, I should quote it here, a substantial amount of fraudulent benefits submitted have used PII from first responders, government personnel, and school employees, and this is filing unemployment claims. So in addition to, it's past tax season here, but in addition to the typical tax season scams where people file fraudulent tax claims, scammers are taking advantage of the current situation and filing massive amounts of unemployment claims. And typically it's going to real people. So it's the whole Nigerian scam, right? Hey, if you will take this payment of, $15 million, I'll let you keep some and you just forward it on to me. It'll just cost you $100 kind of thing. So they're scamming people who are victims of various types of online scams or just people who are out of work to receive a direct deposit of a fraudulent unemployment scam and forward the bulk of the funds along and, get to keep a little bit for themselves. So just something else to keep an eye out as your identity may be used in filing a bogus unemployment scam in the same way that your identity might be used for filing a fraudulent tax refund request. So it's a long article, but it's interesting, worth reading just to see what's going on.
That's frustrating. How frustrating.
Well, and the frustrating part is you've got two sides there, right? You as a state and a government want to try to make it as frictionless as possible for people who are in a tough spot, unemployment, to be able to apply for and get unemployment benefits. It's to the benefit of both the government and the people seeking the assistance to do that as quickly and painlessly as possible. But the quickly and painlessly as possible then makes it that much easier for scammers to sneak, depending on how quickly and easily you make it. And so it's the catch-22. If you make it hard so that scammers can't do it, then you're also making it very hard for the very people who need the help.
Right.
And so it's a tough problem to solve. So anyways, that's what I had this week.
Yeah, I hadn't read this article. It looks like another good Krebs one, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it explains the whole process, how it goes through, and generally how banks are catching it, but they're not catching all of them. So
Yeah. While it might seem strange that people in Washington would be asking to receive their benefits via ACH deposits in Oklahoma, the people involved seem to have a ready answer if anyone asks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So
Uncool.
Some people
right.
are horrible.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. We'll just leave it at that. Okay. So I had two topics here for tonight. The first is a thread by our prolific buddy. He doesn't know us. We don't know him, but I read a lot of his stuff. Catalan over at ZDNet about Chrome 83. So I wanted to actually post a link to the thread here because he does a bunch of stuff in the Twitter thread here. So Chrome 83 is out. It turns out I just checked right before we recorded, and I'm actually must not be in the first tranche of deployments. I am still running 81, which is a ways back, and I didn't want to kick off the update right before we recorded. So I'm not on this yet, but it should be rolling out now. I think you said one of your machines has updated and one hasn't.
My other one, while we were prepping for this, I just had it restart. So the one I'm staring at right now is on 83.
There you go. Okay. Well, good for you. You had some time while I gathered my notes together. So anyway, there's a bunch of security related things in Chrome 83. So at least a couple of them here I thought were worth calling out, and then linking to this thread, which has a bunch of other stuff too. So there's a nice ability to manage cookies on a per domain basis now. So should make it easier to just delete the cookies from that one site that is problematic, which happens to me relatively frequently. Let's see. There's a safe browsing thing that I think you can opt in for, but if you do, you are sending your sites to Google. But for better prevention of going to malicious sites, which is nice. I think we've talked about DNS over HTTPS on here, DOH, maybe once or twice, but you can now enable a custom DOH resolver. So if your ISP doesn't have a DOH service, you can point your browser at one, which is cool and new. This I've got to see how it works. They tab groups. This is not a security feature, but given my, as you say, Toblerone tabs sometimes, I'm very curious if this, if I can auto group things from one site or something like that. I don't quite know how that is going to work, but I'm excited to try it out.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to make it work, and I can't make it work. So it's not right click, create tab group. It's something else.
Okay. Well, I will try not to let my hopes get up too high. So this I'm going to have to go read more about it. So, something about trusted types. Do you know anything about that?
No, I was just reading trusted types browser API.
Yeah, which is to protect against cross-site scripting, which is, I think, just last week we talked about how cross-site scripting is like a bunch of things were the most common vulnerability. Oh, yeah, it was the WordPress stuff we were talking about last week. So I don't know what the Trusted Types API is, but it says the new Trusted Types API is live, which is an anti-cross-site scripting feature. So I'll have to go do some reading about that. This one I particularly liked. Starting with Chrome 83, Chrome will block sandboxed iframes from initiating a file download action.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome because the sandboxed iframes often wrap ads on pages, and so that will prevent malicious ads from downloading things onto a device. This is the same site. I think this is the last one I'll probably mention. The same site cookie. No, this isn't. This is different from that. Sorry. It says Chrome 83 now blocks HTTP downloads on HTTPS sites. We talked about this at some point in history.
Yeah.
I feel like. So at the moment in 83, it's only for executable files. So you could still download, documents and other things.
Podcasts.
Over podcasts. That's true. Yes. Over HTTP. So this is basically they don't want a HTTPS site to initiate a download over a HTTP site, no SSL, because the HTTP download could be potentially intercepted and replaced.
Right.
And so and it says more file types will be blocked over the next few releases. So at the moment it's executables. Next will be archives, then other non-safe types like PDF, docx, etc. And then eventually it'll be audio, video, photos, that sort of thing. So sites are gotta work up the security there. So anyway, that was my first thing. Chrome 83 is out. If you haven't already got it, there's a bunch of security related items in it that are worth upgrading.
Cool.
And then my second topic. Do you remember it wasn't last year. Sorry, time dilation. I don't know when it was. When they were tracking military personnel at various bases around the world with their fitness apps.
Yeah.
It's a year or two ago. So this is something similar, but with a beer app. So Untapped is a app for tracking beer. So if you like your beer, you can basically log and rate the beers that you drink, and it includes a check-in feature, basically in fact, they said they use Foursquare for all of their location data. So
is Foursquare still a thing? Huh.
It came up in this article. So I don't know how much they're still their own thing, or if they're doing a lot of service stuff for other apps like this. I have no idea. I'm not a very social person, as you probably know. Anyway, the crazy thing about this is, there's a couple things about this, I guess. So they're clearly trying to prevent it being easy to search for places that are sensitive. So I don't know. Right. I don't know how or why, but you can't just search for a military base.
Right.
For example. But whoever was doing this would have fit in very well in quality assurance, because their sort of loophole or workaround is and they're spoofing their GPS location because they're clearly not actually going and driving there to do this. But if you are at, quote unquote, at a location and you go to check in, then it will give you the option to say, where are you? And that where are you can include places that aren't available from searching. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then, so when you say that you're checking in at, a particular, like a military base or something like that, one of the other items when you check in there is you can see profiles from other users who have also checked in there. Or you can see other check-ins from other users, and then clicking on there, you can drill into them. And so you can kind of navigate your way into finding information about other people who have checked in. And then if you can correlate that with data from other social media sites, then you can identify them and their family and, et cetera. And so some of the examples of users that can be tracked this way, they said, or a drone pilot, along with the list of both domestic and overseas military bases he's visited, a naval officer who checked in at the beach next to Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, as well as several times at the Pentagon, a senior intelligence officer with over 7,000 check-ins, domestic and abroad. That's a lot of beer. And other senior officials at the Department of Defense and Air Force, etc. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then one of the other things that I thought was really clever, and you kind of this image is not going to work super well verbally, but we'll put it in the show notes. So if you have a podcast player that you can see an image, go look at the image on your podcast player right now. But the other thing they did is if they post a picture of where they're checking in, they cross-referenced it with satellite imagery to like locate exactly where the person was sitting on the base in like the military housing. So
on your porch.
Yeah. And in this particular case, you could, there's a beer bottle, and in the background you can kind of see this little kind of bike shelter or bus shelter, and a house with some specific framing, and there's a satellite picture right next to it that's very clear, like, what are these things that you're looking at? So anyway, I thought this was another example of like just accidental data leakage. And there's a comment at the bottom of the article about some of these sort of lower, more targeted social groups can be a good source of open source intelligence if you're, trying to track down things like that.
Yeah.
They also mentioned that why they went ahead and released the data is that this particular app at least has a pretty good capability to set your profile to be private and, security wise, and that they talked to the people who they were able to track down and had them all update their profiles to be private before they released. So they at least did that. The exact quote was, quote, "Users discussed in this article have been notified and have adjusted their privacy settings accordingly." So,
well, so there's your call out. If you're posting stuff online, and maybe go check your privacy settings and make sure that you're comfortable with what that means when you post something online. Yeah. Because I know you post all the time, John.
Nothing. So that's why I occasionally will post on Twitter. Like Twitter, there's no assumption of any sort of privacy, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, even in these other things where, you might think you're just logging your beers or logging your golf shots or logging whatever else it is that you're doing, but it's being stored in a server, and they've got APIs to help match you against other people, and there's a lot of available data.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
fun.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty interesting. All right, how about something fun tonight?
All right, so I have two.
Okay.
One, because this week
is the week,
the 40th anniversary of Mount St. Helens, and the local PBS station, OPB, Oregon Public Broadcasting, is now releasing all of their complete archive of Mount St. Helens stories over the years public. So you can go. We'll link to the page, and you can go read all about Mount St. Helens and the fun stories around Mount St. Helens after it erupted. And I bring it up because I've been hiking Mount St. Helens every year in the fall, September-ish timeframe for 10 years now. And so this will be the 11th year.
Right.
I have my passes already. I'm set to go, and we have 21 people in our party this year.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it keeps growing. It started out with me and one other guy, and it has slowly grown over the years. So,
wow,
it'll be fun. Anyway, so I just had to throw that in as one of my something funs, because it is a cool hike, and it's it's an interesting piece of history to be living so close to a volcano. An active volcano at that.
Yeah, we've got a we've got a pretty good view towards St. Helens from part of our property, and actually the back deck is pretty good. So we were thinking, actually, when on the 40th anniversary, we were thinking, man, because this house would have been built, the house that we live in would have been built in the 70s, and so they would have been here when it erupted, and the view they must have had of the cloud as it went east must have been spectacular. And so we actually asked our neighbor, hey, you were here when it happened, right? And he was like, oh yeah. Well, actually he said he was driving when it actually happened, driving truck or something like that. And that one of the other times when it he was haying the field and he's like, I wish I'd gotten some better pictures, because I can remember it so vividly, but I didn't take any pictures because I was so worried about getting my hay up, something like that. Okay,
there's a real farmer right there.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So anyway, 40th anniversary.
Yeah. So we'll link to that. And then my other one, which I stumbled across, which I thought was really cool and makes me sad that I don't have my 3D printer yet, is there is a website called Flexure.org, which will have a fully open source, build it with a Raspberry Pi and print your own parts microscope.
What?
You do have to buy, they have the lenses and a few other pieces of hardware, and they have links on where to buy them that it fits, but you can build a very low cost, high performant, high magnification microscope, which I looked at this and thought, this looks totally cool. I'm totally going to build this when my new printer comes. So this was my other something fun. And it just got me thinking, there are so many things that we haven't even thought of that 3D printing and that kind of stuff is going to open up for people. That I just had to throw this one out there as here's one, and this is just the beginning of these kinds of things. And they've already started for a while, but you got a Raspberry Pi and a 3D printer, you buy some lenses and some stepper motors, it has the full, everything, how to build it, a guide to printing and assembling your entire microscope.
Wait. It's got its own focusing apparatus, automatic focusing if you have stepper motors.
Well, I don't know if it's automatic or if you have to use the software, and you get a Raspberry Pi version 2 of the camera, the new cameras. And so you can do the visual can all be on your computer screen as you're, focusing down on what you're staring at in the microscope. So I'm actually kind of excited about this. I went and looked at, it's not super cheap because you look at the parts you have to get, the extra parts depending on the quality of the lenses you want to get, etc. But
what? It achieves steps well below 100 nanometers.
Mm-hmm. And I know.
What? So wait, what's the magnification of it though? Sorry, I'm missing the optics. Where's the optics?
So to get to the optics, you have to go to the build microscope and assembly instructions, and then there's I
already downloaded the STLs. That was the first thing I saw.
not non-printed. So the optical parts are, a 13 millimeter, 5 millimeter focal length condenser lens and a 12.7 millimeter, 50 millimeter focal length achromatic lens. So it has the list of.
At that? I'm looking at build a microscope and I don't see it.
Okay.
Oh, maybe it's in assembly instructions. Hold on.
Yeah, under contents, obtaining non-printed
parts. There we go.
Yeah, and then you can either go with the basic optics model or the high-resolution optics module. And it shows you...
Hello, high-resolution optics module. What are you talking about?
All the pieces you have to get. Well, exactly. nice little Raspberry Pi camera, and you print anyways, it just looks so cool. So I haven't priced out how much everything, I mean, I have Raspberry Pis laying around, but I haven't priced out the rest of it. But when my printer comes, if it ever comes, I want to try printing one of these.
Okay.
So there you go. And I may see if you could print me some of the parts that maybe would work better with a resin printer as opposed to the PLA.
This is totally awesome. This is totally awesome. You know who else will be really maybe happy that I could do something that's not Dungeons and Dragons related with my 3D printer? Is my wife, who is a biologist.
Her this. Say, exactly. Do you want to start checking out Bacteria? There we go. Anyways, I thought this was super cool, and I was very excited about it. And now I'm sad I don't have my new 3D printer.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, I gotta do some reading.
All right.
That is truly something fun. Double gold bonus star.
Yay.
That is awesome.
Yay me.
Okay. I have two scientific-y type something funs this week. So I was going to feel guilty about having two, but I couldn't not. So sorry, both of them were too cool. So the first one is, it is about a new enzyme that breaks down plastic in hours. And evidently, I'm looking at this. This must have come out a month or so ago because the date in the slug is from April. But I only heard about it this couple days ago. Anyway, so the whole plastic is a super duper problem, right? I mean,
yeah.
Hello, great garbage patch, Pacific garbage patch. But this says scientists have created a mutant bacterial enzyme. No bad movie has started with those words. That breaks down plastic bottles in hours, but the leftover material is good enough to be recycled into high quality new bottles. So, the optimized enzyme was first discovered in a compost heap of leaves 8 years ago and was able to reduce the plastic bottles to simple chemical elements that can be efficiently reprocessed into new food-grade plastic. There's a French company working on in productizing it. There's a bunch of data in here about just how many plastic bottles are used on a daily basis and just how few of them are recycled these days, which is super depressing. And I'm like, I want to hope that some of the numbers can't quite be right. I don't know. Just trying to remember where one of the numbers was.
Even the most suitable plastic is only recycled at a rate of 20 to 30%, and then the rest goes to incinerators or landfills, and then takes 1,000 years to decompose, making toxins into the environment.
Isn't that terrible? It's terrible. Yeah. And I mean, we try to, personally, like our household, we've been trying to minimize plastic. Even, I don't know if you've tried any of those silicone Ziploc bags. We've got some of those. We're trying to replace our use of Ziploc bags with those, and they work kind of. They're certainly not as nice as convenient as Ziploc bags. Anyway, but anyway, I just thought this is fantastic, and I thought this should be something fun. And so it says they'll start building a demonstration plant in a few weeks. The plant will start up in Q2 of 2021. To generate process data, and our first licensee will start up now. I don't know that this is they've got an agreement or just that they desire that it to happen. Our first licensee will start up their own plant operating our technology by the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. So I don't know.
Okay.
But now I'm picturing a big boat in the ocean, just kind of scooping up the garbage patch and, processing it on board or something. I don't know.
Right.
Wouldn't that be cool? Okay. Anyway, that was my first something fun. And then my second something fun is a sci-fi article. Did you read this one?
No.
two huge blobs in Earth's mantle are fighting it out over our magnetic pole.
That's the headline I was just reading, and I'm not sure what that means.
Well, so you've heard that the magnetic pole is moving. Have you heard that?
That sounds familiar. Yeah, that
so
magnetic north is shifting over time.
Yeah. So look at there's a chart about halfway down the article that shows how back in the 1800s and in 1904, the magnetic north was basically in Hudson Bay in Canada, and it's been gradually moving north, over the course of the last century. And so by 2000, it had moved, I don't get the scales here. It had basically moved 10 degrees north between 1904 and 2000. So 100 years, it moved 10 degrees. But in the last 2 decades, it has moved as far as it moved the previous 100 years. And it's quote unquote racing towards Siberia. So,
wow.
Isn't that cool?
What does that mean for everybody that depends on magnetic north? I guess nobody cares about magnetic north anymore because they got Google Maps.
Yeah, I would say if you're if you're using a compass, where it actually is probably irrelevant to your positioning yourself within a forest. Not that many people are using. Maybe if you're geocaching,
right?
I don't know. But yeah. But so that's cool. So let's see. From about 1840 to 1990, the North Magnetic Pole wandered over northern Canada, moving at a rate of up to 15 kilometers per year. But then in 1990, it suddenly accelerated, topping out at 60 kilometers per year. It's been making a beeline for Siberia, passing about 390 kilometers south of the geographic pole and crossing the international dateline in October of 2017. So scientists found there are 2 huge blobs of material deep within the mantle near the core mantle boundary. One is under Canada, the other under Siberia. These blobs create a bump in the magnetic field with a trough between them, like 2 mountains with a saddle pass, with the magnetic pole situated in that trough. As they slowly strengthen and weaken, the pole moves between them. Isn't that cool? Do you see the purple globes underneath that?
Right, because the whole point of Earth's magnetic field is, well, not the whole point, but one of the features of that is to shield us from solar radiation, right?
I don't think that there's no danger of the magnetic field disappearing, because that's actually, but it has flipped before, and it might flip again at some point. But it says as for people freaking out, it means the Earth's magnetic field is about to collapse or flip over. That seems unlikely. This sudden movement has happened before historically a couple of times, but the last flip in the magnetic field was 800,000 years ago. It's safe to assume they aren't directly related. So anyway, this is just the cool science that we're able to do now is pretty awesome. And there's more data in here about the fact that why they think the sort of the North America blob is stretching differently, which is, caused it to have less of an effect on the surface. So anyway, this was my other cool article.
Okay.
Kind of wacky, kind of crazy, kind of cool. I was going to say geology. I'm not sure this is geology. Is this geology?
Study of rocks?
Kinda. I don't know.
I'm going to go with geology.
Okay. There you go. All right. It is very, very nearly an hour since we started recording.
Yeah. We should probably stop.
We should probably stop talking. So.
All right. Well, have a good night, John.
Yep. Thanks for the fun, and have a great week.
Alrighty. See ya.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.